In this game theory scenario, it's actually a classic prisoner's dilemma. When there are no rules, or when rules are lacking, people will inevitably pursue their own maximum benefit, which ultimately leads to the destruction of collective interests. The internal conflict between the Camberwell siblings is exactly because of this principle. So here comes the key point. Listen carefully. What is the real rule of wealth inheritance among the rich? It's not wealth itself, but the rules. You must never just hand over money directly. That's a trap. So you have to learn to play by a different set of rules, just like they do. For ordinary people, there are basically only 3 ways to pass on assets. Is this method right or not? The first way is to give money while you're still alive. It's simple and straightforward. It's just like the example of my friend's uncle, Old Wang. Once the money is given away, I lose control over it. If the child's marriage runs into problems, that money becomes part of the marital property, and half of it could be gone in an instant. Actually, not just half. Even if you write an IOU, it doesn't help, because in this case, there's no interest, so it's just considered a gift. The second way is to transfer the property while you're still alive. Some people might think, why don't I just sell the house to my child for a symbolic price? Wouldn't that solve the problem? Well, you're overthinking it. That doesn't work either. They will use the market value to calculate your capital gains tax, so in the end, you won't be able to avoid paying a single cent of that tax. I had a client last year who, because they didn't plan ahead, had to pay an additional 128,000 Australian dollars in inheritance capital gains tax. This amount could have been completely saved with proper planning. The third way is to make a will after death. This is the most common method, but it also has the most pitfalls. In Australia, more than half of people don't have a will, so property distribution can be even more chaotic than you might imagine. Why is that? There are 2 reasons. The first is that the future is truly unpredictable. No one knows what will happen tomorrow, so people tend to put it off. The second reason is that even if you do make a will, as long as your house is held jointly with someone else as joint tenants, then sorry, regardless of whether you are a married couple or not, and sometimes people aren't even married. Anything you state in your will about leaving the house or assets to your children is completely invalid. The house will automatically and entirely go to the other person. So you see, every step here is a potential pitfall. So what should you actually do? If you've stuck with me up to this point, I'll now tell you the best solution, what the wealthy do. The first method is to set up a family trust to protect this asset. Simply put, from the very beginning, you don't buy the house under your personal name, but under the name of the trust. This way, the house doesn't belong to any individual, but to the trust itself. You are the controller of the trust, and your family members are the beneficiaries. What are the benefits of doing this? When you want to pass your wealth on to the next generation, what you're transferring isn't individual houses. You don't need to pay stamp duty for the transfer. You're simply transferring control of the trust. That's why many of my own properties are all held in trusts. The properties themselves aren't bought or sold, and there's no title transfer involved. This method is very transparent and discreet. There's no stamp duty, no capital gains tax, and you can transfer it out. Most importantly, this firewall can also separate family assets from the potential marital risks of your children in the future. Do you understand what I mean? If your child's marriage is unfortunate, these assets are trust property. It's not their personal property, so there's no way for anyone to take it away in a divorce. That's the power of rules. Then for a basic will, the lawyer's fee is about $500 to $800, and setting up a family